Hi, how are you today? My name is Patrick McNamee and this is the front cover of a book which I have recently published. As you can see, it is called Strategic Management for MBAs, and on the front you can see photographs of MBA teams who have recently presented to me. This is a podcast which I have developed for the MBA Association of Ireland to bring to your attention the features of this book and to hope that you will be interested in it. The first thing that really drove me along to write this book was, what does the market need? What would the market be interested in? And I thought, well, if you have graduated with an MBA and you join a new company, what would that company or that firm expect of you? And it's not that different from what the company or a firm would expect from a senior manager or indeed from a director. What are the attributes that those sorts of people have? Well, I think we can group them together as follows. They tend to have, they know about their role, they know about strategy. They have a generic set of knowledge which applies to all firms, and they have substance to their views. They can do things quickly, they can articulate succinctly, and they know how to develop a strategic plan. Then there are more specific areas of business strategy or strategic management that they know about, how to define a business, the portfolio of the business, leadership, etc., etc. And finally, they're likely to have good communication skills and to be rather analytical. So we can group these together, quite naturally I think, into these four groupings. And these four groupings form the various sections that are in this book. Section 1 is an introduction to the subject and an introduction to what MBAs are. Section 2 is the supporting philosophy. You have to have a philosophy to support your views. Section 3 is what you could call the detail of strategic management, how to develop and implement a strategic plan. And Section 4 are the sort of essential skills that MBAs, senior managers and directors tend to have. Let me look at the first two in a little more detail. First of all, the introduction and then the supporting philosophy. Starting with the introduction. I think MBAs are a terrific qualification because of the global esteem in which they're held, and never let us forget the salaries which they can command. And this first chapter is an introduction to that and shows how students can be transformed through the MBA. And the second chapter is really the concept of strategic management and how very important it is to get a firm's strategy correct. Let's move on to the supporting philosophy, and I have what I would call 7 principles. I'll not go through them all in detail, I'll just indicate what they are, and you can stop the podcast if you want to look at that in more detail. And one overriding principle that I have is that strategic management is not to be practiced from a book. It is to be instilled into your head, you should instill it into your head and carry it round all the time. For that to happen, it must be simple and it must be short and clear. Let's see how we can turn complexity into simplicity. There is the most magnificent machine I think that was ever invented, the navigator's compass. It enables people to navigate anywhere in the world. I know about magnetic north, but anywhere in the world. And it can do it so easily, and you can carry it around in your head. Wouldn't it be great if we could have a compass which would enable us to navigate the strategy for a firm? Well, we do. You need to look at the book to get the justification of this. Just 4 factors determine the profitability and profit potential of a firm. Its competitive position, how well it uses its assets, the quality of its leadership, and the markets it's addressed. CALM, the letters CAM. We can put more detail on that, and here we have it. Because of the brevity of this podcast, I'll not go into those items. And furthermore, we can see once again the 4 letters C, A, L and M. And you might say, well, maybe that's okay in a classroom, but how would it work in a business? Well, let's see how we could transform C-A-L-M. We can just put them here on a compass rose, and then behind it, we can put a spreadsheet in Excel or whatever. And if you look at the top, we've competitive position. The next line is asset utilization, then leadership, markets addressed, and profitability. We can tilt that slightly, and there they are. We can make that disappear, and there we have it. Underlying it are the 4 cardinal points of the compass, but they've sort of disappeared. Section 3 and Section 4 are about using strategic management, which I'll indicate with this blue rectangle, and the final one is essential skills. Let's look at... right. Here we have a skeleton, and this is the concept which I use to develop strategic plans in all companies. Let's look at the skeleton strategic plan. Here it is, and here it is in detail. We can have any plan structured like that. Section A, Section B, Section C, and Section D. And I'm very anxious to tell you that I do not believe that strategic plans are developed linearly. They are iterative, where you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth again until you've got a really good concept of where the firm is going. And I think it should be around 30 slides. And let's relate it to what we talked about a few minutes ago. There is the blue rectangle, and within that we will have markets addressed, competitive analysis, leadership, asset utilization, etc. I've changed the order there because that would be a more normal order in most firms. Section 4 is about essential skills. How good are you at communicating? How persuasive is your voice? How good are the visuals that you use? These should be terrific when you complete an MBA. And finally, analytical skills. In the classroom, analysing cases, and in the real world, analysing companies. The final thing that I want to talk about is that this book is not a legacy book. It is a transformed book which has been published on the web. And because it is a transformed book, it has attendant support. The first element of support is that it has a website. And that website contains widgets to the podcast and also presentations by students. In addition to that, we have a channel on YouTube where there are 33 podcasts at this point in time, all about the book. And I believe that for most MBA students, having mobility, taking the classroom round in your pocket is essential, so you can download the YouTube podcast to your iPhone. And for those of you who want the podcasts in a complete pack, we have a DVD available. Here's how you can get the video podcasts. Go to YouTube, search for Patrick's Strategy. That should bring them up. And here's how you can buy the book. And you can get more information once again on the website. It just remains for me to thank you for listening to this podcast, and goodbye. Thank you.